Joe Biden got a great endorsement. I don't know if you see who this is. So Biden and Kamala Harris put out a press release. It says for immediate release, September 3rd, 2020, or as they say in my neighborhood, September 3rd. In case you missed it, that's what ICYMI. I'm pretty sure that's what that stands for. In case you missed it, right? It says in USA Today op-ed, former Michigan Republican Governor Rick Snyder declares he's voting for Biden. They're sending this out. They're touting. They are touting Governor Rick Snyder's endorsement from Michigan. Do you remember who that is? Do you remember who Rick Snyder is? He's the guy who poisoned everybody in Flint, Michigan.
He should be in prison.
He should be in prison. He's a criminal. He poisoned children. Poisoned them on purpose for money. Michigan ex-governor Rick Snyder knew about Flint's toxic water and lied about it. That's
got to get his endorsement.
Got to get that guy's endorsement. 6 years after the city of Flint, Michigan began using toxic water that sickened its residents, Vice uncovered payoffs, the silencing of a whistleblower, a shady financial deal, a cover-up, and the former governor who presided over it all. That's the guy they're touting. Flint's children suffer in class after years of drinking the lead-poisoned water. The city school, stretch even before the lead crisis, are struggling with demands for individualized education programs and behavioral interventions for children with high lead exposure. I've lived near or in Flint most of my life. Pay attention. Flint third graders' reading proficiency drops nearly 3/4 in 1 year. Lead poisoning equals learning disabilities. It's happening. A generation is screwed. Rick Snyder and his money-hungry goons have been ignoring the lives, well-being, and safety of our state's citizens that he allegedly swore to serve. It's disgusting. We need to show the world that this kind of leadership only endangers lives, never enriches it.
There are calls not only for a demand for clean water, but and for the governor to be investigated. But some are calling for him to be arrested. What do you feel, Naira?
Well, I feel like he should be arrested. He should be impeached. Whatever comes where we can get some sort of justice, because we haven't had justice. Snyder's apology happened 3 months after we went back to Detroit, and we don't know when he actually knew that there was an issue with Flint's water. So he can take his apology and flush it down the toilet.
Well, we know Rick Snyder knew about the Flint water crisis earlier than he testified under oath. So he lied about it under oath, too. So he is directly responsible for the death and poisoning of not only citizens of Michigan, but children in the developmental stages of their brains. And he did it knowingly. So he's a monster.
Worth over $200 million.
I don't care if he's got a suit on with a nice button-down collar. He's a monster. And right now, he's way worse than Trump. Has Trump poisoned an entire city yet on purpose and then lied about it under oath? And that's the guy Joe Biden is touting as his endorsement. Wow, this is a huge endorsement from Michigan's Governor Rick Snyder. Say what you will about the man who admittedly forced an entire city's inhabitants to bathe in lead for years, but it's important to note that he never once insulted liberal sensibilities on a podcast. You see how low the Democrats have sunk? Do you see how low? And by the way, why would Governor Rick Snyder feel a need to endorse a Democrat? Was it because the Democrat Barack Obama came to Flint and ran interference for him? Was that the reason why?
Can I get some water?
Before a crowd of 1,000.
I really did need a glass of water. This is not a stunt.
President Obama took a sip of Flint's filtered tap water, assuring the people there that he cares.
I've got your back.
No, he doesn't.
He didn't have their back. He didn't clean that water. Those kids were poisoned, and he didn't give them health care, which he could have done with the stroke of a pen. He could have given them all Medicare for all. He didn't prosecute the people who did it. In fact, he came and did this. He lied to the people. If you watch Michael Moore's film 11/9, they put their hands over their mouths because they saw Barack Obama betraying them at that moment. And then he went and betrayed them one more time.
There you go. Generally I have not been doing stunts here, but,
But here's a stunt.
Wow, what a big gulp. Did you see that big gulp of
Yeah.
water he just took? Whoa.
Generally, I've not been doing, but here's a stunt. And now Joe Biden goes to Flint and barely mentioned the water crisis. Community leaders are furious. I wonder why. Maybe because they're complicit. This thing about nobody's above the law. Remember Barack Obama said nobody's above the law, including the president? Well, yes, everybody's above the law who's an oligarch. He's above the law. Governor Rick Snyder's above the law. Joe Biden is above the law. Donald Trump is above the law. George Bush and Dick Cheney are above the law. Bill Clinton is above the law. Everybody's above the law. It's almost like being on a stranded island and you hear the helicopter and you get excited. This is people talking about when Joe Biden's coming to Flint, Michigan. You hear the helicopter and you get excited. Oh, good. Somebody's going to be able to elevate you, lift us up. And then when they don't, you sink down into this despair, this mental anguish, this distress. The Flint water crisis is not over. No one took accountability for it. It was not a natural disaster. It was a man-made disaster, which makes it different from any other water crisis. Joe Biden is touting the endorsement of the guy who poisoned a city on purpose. Could you go lower? Could you go lower? Really?
So he's showing everybody what an environmentalist he is, right?
Well, here he is as an environmentalist. You ready?
No kidding.
Here's Joe Biden as an environmentalist. You ready? Because Joe Biden believes in science. Democrats believe in science, right?
I am not banning fracking. Let me say that again. I am not banning fracking, no matter how many times Donald Trump lies about me.
And now there are a lot of people like fracking activist Josh Fox who will wag your finger at you and tell you have to vote for the guy who is completely 100% committed against him. And that's because guys like that are fucking climbers and aren't real. That's who Joe Biden is. And anybody who says they're a fracking activist who gives a shit about that and is going to fucking tell you to vote for that fucking guy is either a cuck or a grifter.
Who's he appealing to when he has to say something that adamant about fracking? Who does he think? Does he think my neighbor is worried about fracking? You know what my neighbor's worried about, Jimmy? Healthcare.
That's right. Joe Biden ain't going to give you that either. He ain't going to stop He ain't going to stop fracking. He ain't going to give you health care. He ain't going to stop the wars. He's not going to re-regulate Wall Street. He ain't going to fucking do anything for you except pave the way for a worse Trump in 4 years.
I am not banning fracking. Let me say that again. I am not banning fracking, no matter how many times Donald Trump lies about me.
Biden on what's at stake in this election. Will we rid ourselves of this toxin or will we make it a permanent part of our nation's character? Which toxin is that, Joe? It's not the fracking toxin. right? Because you're all on board for the fracking toxin. You just want to get rid of the symptom of the fracking toxin, which is Donald Trump. When people feel government has let them down and they have nowhere to turn, they run to the arms of a con man game show host. You are not the solution. You created Donald Trump. It was Joe Biden's policies that create Donald Trump. He is not the solution. And any cuck who tells you to fucking, you got to vote for Joe Biden because he's the solution to the problem he created. It's important to have integrity. It's important, as Chris Hedges says, not to betray yourself. And anybody who considers themselves gives a shit about the environment or fracking and tells you to vote for that motherfucker is a cuck or a grifter. Fracking in Pennsylvania, not worth it.
I am not banning fracking. Let me say that again. I am not banning fracking, no matter how many times Donald Trump lies about me.
That's in Pennsylvania. He's making that speech in Pennsylvania. Guess what? Popular science says fracking in Pennsylvania, not worth it. So that's Joe Biden screwing you and poisoning your water for money, for corruption. Is he worse than Donald Trump or is he better than Donald Trump? Is he worse than Rick Snyder or is he better than Rick Snyder? Is Joe Biden a fucking monster? Yes. And if anybody's pledging their vote to this fucking monster 2 months before an election, you are either a grifter or a cuck. 2 months before the election, you're going to pledge your vote to this guy and you claim to give a shit about the environment? You're a fucking grifting liar. This is the guy. You care about fracking, you care about the environment. And this is the guy 2 months ahead of the election, instead of fucking protesting against him, instead of making him actually go, he's going to lose this election again. Because fucking assholes like you guys who claim to be environmentalists and give a shit actually don't. You care more about your place inside the Democratic Party and getting money from fucking corporations and Netflix than you fucking do about the environment. And that's clear. That's clear. If you don't pressure Joe Biden before the election, you're a fucking grifter. And you say you care about the election. You're a fucking grifter. Plain and simple, and that's manifest. Popular science, fracking Pennsylvania, not fucking worth it. Joe Biden, I listen to science. Science says ban fracking. Joe Biden, come on, man. Bruce Levine wrote this. He said, there are few opportunities in life for a perfect choice. And so we make many compromises. But compromises are very different than violations of integrity. Compromises are part of life. Violations of integrity are slow death. So you can violate your fucking integrity all you want. I won't do it. And when a worse Trump shows up in 4 years, I'll be there to fight him. And you will be prescribing more fucking gasoline to put out the fire. The government is broken. We live in a failed state. They won't even give their own people health care in the middle of a pandemic. As Chris Hedges says, the levers of power have seized up. They cannot even give people health care in the middle of a fucking pandemic, nor will they promise to. This is not a compromise. This is called a violation of integrity. And soon enough, the rest of the fucking left will come around to understand no problem sticking my chin out once again. Just like with Russiagate, just like with Venezuela, just like with fucking Syria, just like with the Mueller report. No problem. We'll do it again. Let you know, violating your fucking sense of integrity does not get you a better country. Telling people to vote for Joe Biden 2 months ahead of an election when he vows to to piss in your face is a violation of integrity. It shows you're either a willing pansy or you're a grifter. Here's more from Bruce Levine. In our fear, we choose over and over and over again someone who is abhorrent. We are choosing fear more than whoever we think we are choosing. Fear makes us weak, and so we are choosing weakness much more than anything else. History informs us that it is popular movements that move politicians. And Chomsky is clear that building those movements is what we need to focus on all the time rather than merely focusing on elections. Of course, he is right. However, it takes energy and strength to participate in building a popular movement. And when we've become so broken by making fear-based decisions, we are too weakened to build well-organized, sustained, powerful, popular movements. That's what the left feels like. They're so broken. We can't ever do it. We can never have a fucking representative in government. We can never have a party that... It can never happen. That's what this does to us. And that's what it's done. Look at the news outlets that didn't cover the People's Convention. They're suffering from that. We could never do it. You could never have an actual political party that actually represents people, Jimmy. What did you grow up? You can't actually grow up, you petulant child. Violate your own integrity and keep pouring gas on the problem. That's what grown-ups do. When we've become so broken by making fear-based decisions, we are too weakened to build well-organized, sustained, powerful, popular movements. Look at those fucking people. While the greater of two evils is a risk, so too is a lifetime of fear-based decision-making. If we repeatedly deceive ourselves that we are compromising when we are in fact obliterating our integrity, there are consequences. We can become so broken that we are incapable of creating popular movements. We can become so broken that when those brown shirts start marching, we will lack the strength to kick the shit out of them. Hey, everybody, this is the part where I tell you where all our live shows are, but there aren't any. And then this is why I tell you to join our premium program and get extra content, but nobody's got a fucking job. So just enjoy the video.